The tongue has sweet at the tip, salt and sour on the sides, and bitter at the back. You've seen that neat little map in 1,000 classrooms. Tonight we test it. We'll ask where the diagram came from, what real tongues actually do, and why tidy pictures beat messy biology so easily. It matters because food science, nutrition advice, and even product design still borrow that image. If the map is wrong, your everyday sense of taste deserves an upgrade. The fair version of the claim says different tongue regions specialize in different basic tastes. The stronger version says each taste has its own exclusive zone, like a flavor neighborhood with guards at the border. The myth spread because the diagram is irresistibly simple. A poster with colored wedges teaches in one glance, sells textbooks, and turns a complex sensory system into a digestible icon. Publishers and teachers leaned on it because it solved a classroom problem. You can't pass around microscopes and electrodes every period, but you can hang a bright map. Now the evidence, step by step. First, the mechanism of taste. Taste buds are small clusters of sensory cells that detect chemicals dissolved in saliva. They sit on different papillae, fungiform on the front, foliate on the sides, and circumvallate across the back, and they also appear on the soft palate and throat. Each taste bud holds dozens of cells, and these cells carry receptors tuned to basic tastes: sweet, sour, salty, bitter, and umami. A single region may lean slightly toward one taste, but no region is blind to the others. Signals travel along several cranial nerves. The facial nerve handles much of the front, the glossopharyngeal covers the back, and the vagus brings in the throat, which means taste already distributes before it reaches the brain. Second, the timeline that birthed the map. Around 1901, a young researcher named D.P. Hennig measured detection thresholds for different tastes at various tongue points. He found small differences, tiny shifts in sensitivity, not 0 versus 1 cutoffs. Later, in 1942, the psychologist Edwin Boring redrew those data as smooth curves after normalizing them, and illustration artists converted those curves into sharp colored zones. A nuance became a border, a suggestion turned into a map, and the oversimplification rode into generations of textbooks. Third, replications and modern tools. In the 1970s and 1980s, microelectrode recordings showed that front, side, and back regions all respond to multiple tastes. As molecular biology advanced, researchers identified families of taste receptors, like T1R for sweet and umami and T2R for bitter, expressed broadly across the tongue's papillae. Fluorescent imaging and calcium signals confirmed widespread activation patterns rather than isolated islands. In short, all parts of the tongue that contain taste buds can detect all basic tastes. Sensitivity varies by a little. Coverage varies by a lot less. Fourth, counterexamples that expose the myth. People who burn or numb the tip of the tongue still detect sweet with the sides and back. Children who pinch their noses while eating find food goes flat, not because taste zones vanish, but because smell supplies most of flavor complexity. That shows another source of confusion. Taste and flavor differ. Taste refers to 5 basic categories detected by the tongue. Flavor folds taste together with smell, temperature, texture, and even sound to produce the full experience. Fifth, practical anatomy explains why the back often feels bitter. Circumvallate papillae cluster there and can make bitter detection feel stronger, which serves a protective role by flagging potential toxins before you swallow. But stronger is not exclusive. You can taste bitter on the tip, sweet at the back, and sour across the middle when stimuli are controlled. Sixth, individual variation complicates any map. Some people, often called supertasters, have denser fungiform papillae on the tongue's front and may experience stronger bitter and sweet there. Genetic differences in receptor genes make certain compounds like PROP or PTC taste overwhelmingly bitter to some and almost neutral to others. That diversity shatters the notion of one universal layout. Seventh, the rest of the mouth participates. The soft palate, cheeks, and epiglottis house taste buds that contribute to the total signal, which means a tongue-only picture ignores active territory. When you combine all this, the diagram's hard lines melt. What remains is a landscape of overlapping sensitivities with gentle hills, not fenced districts. So why did the oversimplification spread and stick? Because our brains reward clear edges and simple stories. A neat diagram satisfies a classroom's time limit, a publisher's space limit, and a learner's craving for order. Once the image becomes familiar, confirmation bias makes every "I taste bitter at the back" moment feel like proof. Correlation and causation get tangled here. Bitter often feels stronger at the back, which correlates with papilla density and protective reflexes. That does not cause exclusive bitter receptors to live there and nowhere else. Food marketing helped too. packaging, and product testing have long used clean metaphors. Salt hits here, sweet hits there, to guide design meetings, even when actual sensory data paint a blurrier picture. As of recent studies, neuroscientists also emphasize networks beyond the tongue. The brain's gustatory cortex integrates inputs from several nerves and merges taste with smell and texture, which means the final experience emerges from distributed processing. What remains uncertain lies in the details. Scientists still refine how specific cell types contribute to sour and salt, how temperature shifts sensitivity, and how learning tunes central circuits that interpret the same tongue signals differently. Those debates do not resurrect the map. They refine how a widely distributed system coordinates. Here's the practical rule of thumb for neat diagrams. When a picture draws bright borders around a living process, ask whether those borders mark exclusivity or just small sensitivity differences. If a legend doesn't say, assume the colors show relative strengths with lots of overlap. Biology loves gradients more than walls. For eating and learning, use that rule. Don't chase the tip of your tongue for dessert or the back for broccoli. Trust that the whole mouth contributes and that smell drives much of what you call flavor. If you care about taste testing or cooking, control the big variables. Temperature, texture, and aroma shift perception more than the place a morsel lands. Teach kids and adults to separate the elegance of an infographic from the messy truth it tries to summarize. The explanatory power of a diagram rises when it warns you that boundaries are soft. In short, the taste zones map confuses small differences in sensitivity with hard partitions of function. All basic tastes register across the tongue wherever taste buds live. The distilled takeaway is simple. When a diagram makes biology look like a checkerboard, read it as a cartoon, not a contract. Subscribe for more myth versus reality and tell us which familiar classroom poster you want tested next.